schnitzel on a stick.
Shouldn't you be in school?
Shouldn't I have a lawyer?
I'm not like other grannies.
Granny?
Red, use the horn.
What's this?
It says world's greatest grandma.
Grandma, I can read. It says Battle of the Iron Cage Gladiators.
Hoodwinked is the greatest movie of all time. This is a solid, objective fact in reality. So now I'm here, a humble servant for some higher power, ready to tell you how great this movie truly is. But I'm here today to say something tragic has happened. This beloved classic movie has disappeared from the face of the earth. It was here one moment and then gone the next. Right now, if you're in most countries, you cannot find Hoodwinked on any streaming services, and you can't even buy it on any digital stores. And from what I've seen, it's not exactly easy to find hard copies either. So you can't watch Hoodwinked, but you can find its horrible sequel, Hoodwinked 2, pretty much everywhere with no problem. That's right, the universally hated sequel is available everywhere, but the first one's pretty much gone. I will not cave, I will not cower, I will not back down. You will not take Hoodwinked from me. Now, since Hoodwinked is no longer available here, I think it's time for us to just go over what this movie was, the full plot, and just talk about its absolute brilliance. The animation may look a little bit scuffed, okay? It may look a little, yeah, but I don't care. Okay, so let me tell you the beautiful story of Hoodwinked. By the way, there will be complete spoilers for this movie in this video. You have been warned. So the movie starts out with the typical story of Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red gets to Granny's house, and then there's the wolf dressed up like her grandma. They do the whole what big ears you have thing.
And what big ears you have. What big eyes you
Are
have.
we just gonna sit around here and talk about how big I'm getting?
But then, Granny bursts out of a closet, tied up, gagged. Everyone's distressed. Some woodsman bursts through the window swinging an axe like he's gonna kill everyone. Boom, it's a crime scene. These detectives have to figure out what's really going on here because this whole situation looks like a disaster. You know, you have two people invading Granny's home, and then Granny was tied up in a closet, so there's a lot going on here. So the detectives go through the story of the four people present to find out who's guilty of what. So you got the woodsman, Schnitzel Man, you got Anne Hathaway, Little Red, you have Granny, and the big bad wolf voiced by Joe Swanson.
Smells good. Those, goodies in there? It's good. It's very good.
A real lively assortment of characters, and this movie decides to start by interrogating Little Red. Her story is that she was out doing deliveries for her granny's bake shop. A bunny, Boingo, meets up with Red and talks about how she should be careful because there's been a goody bandit in town who's been stealing recipes and then running all these places out of business. Red then gets a message from the goody bandit on a rock that says, "You're next," meaning Swiper's gonna come and swipe. He's gonna come swipe Granny's recipes if she doesn't do something about it. So she takes all of Granny's recipes out of a vault and sets on a journey to bring them up the mountain to her grandma where they'll be safe. So she gets on a cable car to go up the mountain. Her journey barely starts, she loses her balance, falls out of the cable car, and dies. Okay, she doesn't die. You got me there. She lands somewhat safely, and then she meets the wolf and this weird little guy. The wolf starts interrogating her about what's in her basket, and then he freaks her out and threatens her, so Red beats him up and continues on her way, where she encounters the legendary, one and only goat.
Now,
aside from being iconic, this goat is also inspirational. Preparedness fears him. He has horns for opening bottles, opening pickle jars, holding his keys, horns with hair, and horns to hold his other horns. The goat decides to commit casual child endangerment for the bit, so it's okay. They go on this rickety minecart of death and almost perish in an avalanche. And as Red nearly approaches the brink of death, Right above her flying is none other than Granny Hard-Ass Puckett.
Granny?
Use the hood, Red! Use the hood!
After this inspirational moment, Red gets to Granny's house and then we know the rest. So now the police interrogate the wolf because from Red's story, he seems obviously creepy and probably the goody bandit. Upon interrogating him, we find out he's a nosy journalist. He was trying to uncover who the bandit was, and that's why he was following Red and asking her so many questions. He suspected her. His unhinged assistant traps his tail in his camera, which causes him to scream at Red, and that's why he, seemingly threatened her. So turns out it was all a misunderstanding, but it doesn't matter because Red summons the power of every ancient fighter in her bloodline and destroys him. The wolf loses Red and decides to meet her at Granny's house to continue his investigation. Once he gets there, he dresses as her, and then we know the rest. But then this bigger picture is starting to look really weird because if he didn't tie Granny up, why was Granny already tied up in the closet? Well, the answer is surprisingly more PG than you think. But before the movie lets us know how that happened, the cops interrogate the woodsman, Kirk. Kirk's story is that he was auditioning for a Bunyan cream commercial. After the audition, he went back to his day job at the schnitzel truck, and the most horrifying but whimsical song sequence takes place. So this guy, he out-schnitzeled himself, alright? He had a great day at work. Until his schnitzel truck got robbed by the bandit. But not all is bad because he got a call back for his audition. The director told him he needed to find the tree chopping side of himself. So Kirk went out into the woods and started chopping a tree, pretending to be a woodsman. And I quote, trying to find the little woodsman inside of him. Well, he did find the little woodsman, but then the large tree he chopped tipped over and started rolling after him. It hit him and sent him flying into Granny's house, where he started inexplicably swinging his axe. So 3 of the 4 people have given their story, and the cops only have one more story to go through, the only one that matters, Granny Puckett's story. Right off the bat, her story starts with basically coming out and saying she's wanted by the feds for being too extreme. She's done every crime under the sun. She's wanted for tax evasion, murder, labor law violations, as well as cult leading and treason. No prison has been able to hold her. Okay, I lied. Slight exaggeration. I did lie. Yeah, I did not tell the truth. She did not do any of those things. But she did say she doesn't do bingo or baking or any of the traditional grandma stuff. She said she likes being extreme, doing cage fighting, skydiving, surfing, and snowboarding. So her story starts with her being at some extreme snowboarding competition, where she had to hang up on her sweet granddaughter to do something more deserving of her time.
Well, I have to go now. My program's on. Kisses.
Time to shred some powder.
A hitman tries taking Granny out on the slopes in broad daylight, one who's working for the Goody Bandit. She goes flying into the air, and that's where we get this delightful, exquisite, visually stunning, breathtaking scene. Granny lands in the house through the chimney, gets whipped around by a fan, and then gets thrown into the closet. And then we know what happens here. After she tells her story, Red feels betrayed by her grandma's extreme side because she kept it hidden from her for so long. And then they have this moment.
What's this?
Oh, it says world's greatest grandma.
I can read. It says Battle of the Iron Cage Gladiators.
2 things your granny doesn't do. It's lie and play extreme sports.
While the police are still at the house, somehow Red and the recipes completely go missing. So now it's up for everybody to find her. And the greatest reveal in cinematic history happens. The bandit this whole time was this unholy, immoral, corrupt, dishonorable rabbit, Boingo. This dude single-handedly destroyed every small business in town, pushed a girl out of a cable car, hired a hitman to take out a grandma, realized the girl he pushed out of the cable car lived, so he had to go back and kidnap her, all in a single day. Talk about a bad hair day. Ha. Okay, so Boingo starts explaining his evil plan to Red, and that is that he wants to have a goody empire. And this includes adding a new substance called boingonium to all of his baked goods, so children become addicted and literally physiologically dependent on the food. And he also wants to blow up the mountain where a lot of people live to destroy the rest of his competition. And then most importantly of all, he says the title of the movie.
You've been hoodwinked, baby!
Everybody finds Red, and then they team up to take out Boingo and his whole operation. They succeed, and there's a happy ending. The end. A long recap, but you know what? It needed to be spoken. And again, to the majority of people watching this video, good luck renting or buying this movie. And this video is being made because I think it is an absolute crime that is being buried by someone. What do they not want us to see? It was a genuinely funny movie, and you know, a lot of videos or reviews out there talk about how the movie had atrocious animation, but the comedy more than made up for it. And you know, I agree. The animation looked off even for the time it was released, and it's just aged horribly. Like, it's gotten even worse, right? And you know what? I don't know how popular of a take this is gonna be, but I think the horrible animation really adds to it. I think it enhances this movie. It sells it. The soulless children in the Schnitzel song make it godly. Could you imagine if these kids were like golden era of Pixar quality? No, it doesn't work. They have to look utterly terrifying. Same for the use the hood red scene. It's gotta look bad. And everything to do with the goat. If these scenes had proper lighting, smooth animation and all that, they'd be nice. But would they have been godly and irreplaceable? I think not. Also, this cast is just great. I just love that Anne Hathaway was in this 1 year before The Devil Wears Prada, which means, you know, she was involved in both productions at the same time. And this movie makes a fine addition to Patrick Warburton's character collection. I would now like to take the time to look at critic reviews of this movie from around the time it came out to just show you how unappreciative our society was of this film. Maybe this movie disappeared off the face of the earth as a punishment for our sins. Saddled with cheap-looking animation and a far from stellar cast, this Shrek clone is a diverting but hardly memorable addition to a dangerously overworked genre. This dude on here is apparently a top critic. What does this guy have against this cast? Did you expect to see Meryl Streep shred some powder playing yet another unhinged, terrifying gray-haired woman? Or did you want like Ocean's 11 casting in Hoodwinked? It's Hoodwinked! What was in 2006 Air that would make someone say this cast was trash? Somnambulistic from start to finish, it's a film whose title clearly refers to its paying customer audience. Okay, so normally when I see a word that's not used in everyday conversation, I don't ever think, oh, that person must be using that word to seem intelligent. I understand the purpose of precise wording and, you know, big vocabulary is often just done to get to the point quicker. You can say a whole lot less if you say one precise word that means a lot of words combined. But this time around, I genuinely think this guy is saying somnambulistic in the most pretentious way. It's just a hunch I have. Like, I feel like it is in the most film snobby way. Like, I feel like he didn't even know what the word was. He probably just Googled, like, sleepy synonym or something and cackled to himself like, yes, this'll do. Somnambulistic, yes. But, sir, it is hoodwinked. It is not that deep. Match the tone. Like, you're talking about this movie.
Schnitzel on a stick.
You're not talking about anything that's critically acclaimed by a big director, so you don't need to sound that convincing. Just say, shit's bad, and move on. Not likely to have the undying appeal of a film like Shrek or Toy Story. Okay, I beg to differ. Hoodwinked easily solos DreamWorks' entire collection, Pixar's entire collection, and Spider-Verse. It's horrible. It's wretched. It's Limburger pickled in castor oil. My God, what happened to this person? Wretched. Wretched. I think one of the Schnitzel kids must have got to him. Score, 2 out of 4 for those measuring their ages in single digits. Yeah, it's a kids movie. What do you expect? Ugh, this kids movie. It is for kids. We need to tell somebody. Now, at least among Letterboxd users, it seems this movie has aged well. So I'm gonna read through some of these reviews as a palate cleanser. I'm not even joking when I say this is the funniest movie I've ever seen. Low-key iconic. Granny got the grippy. I think we're done here. Thank you, 24 Frames of Nick. Very lovely. Now, I would personally like to talk about my childhood experience with this movie. Let's talk about what this movie meant to little Savannah. That's me. Little Savantics was just toddling about or something, right? When Hoodwinked came on the TV, she was hooked. She would never be the same. Hoodwinked became her favorite movie. So much so that when she went on a literal tropical vacation to Cancun, instead of having fun at the beach, she said, "No, Mom, I want to stay in the kids club and watch Hoodwinked for the 500th time." While this vacation may have been a rare, temporary experience in her life, and she could have watched Hoodwinked literally anywhere else at any time, she had her priorities straight and chose the Schnitzel Kids over a literal once-in-a-lifetime experience. Yeah. So this movie meant a lot to me, you know? I really liked it. Let's be real here, it looks a little funky, but it's perfect. Something profound about real beauty being in the imperfections. And I really wanted to talk about this today because I think it's an absolute crime that it's like this movie is being buried. It's criminal. Bring back Hoodwinked. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, feel free to stick around on the channel. I also have social media, a second channel, and some merch you can check out if you feel interested. Once again, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.